Today, we're diving into a story that's been waiting about 2,500 years to be told. Well, retold. It's all about a king, a sage, and what it really means to show respect. And you'll see it's about building monuments, not with stone, but with words.
But let's start with a question for you. Think about it. How do you show genuine, deep respect? Is it a bow using a fancy title? A gift? It's something we all have to figure out.
Well, one of the most powerful men of his time, King Pasenadi, and we're talking a guy who literally held the power of life and death in his hands, he gave an answer. And get this, his answer was so profound, so spot on, that the Buddha himself told his followers, you need to memorize this. It's an answer that has been echoing for 2.5 millennia. Okay, so let's get into the story. It doesn't start with some big, formal state visit. This whole thing kicks off with a completely spur-of-the-moment decision. So the king is in a town, just handling some business. He's walking through a quiet park, and the peaceful vibe just kind of sparks a memory of the Buddha. He turns to his minister and asks, hey, where is he right now? He finds out the Buddha is about 3 yojanas away. That's roughly 24 miles or 40 kilometers. And the king, he doesn't even think twice. He hops in his chariot and just goes, traveling all day and pulling up right as the sun is setting. You can tell this isn't some royal duty. This is pure, genuine eagerness. And when he finally gets there, what he does next is just, wow. He takes off his crown and hands his royal sword to his minister, the very symbols of all his power. Then he walks up to the Buddha, bows all the way to the ground, kisses his feet, and says, I am Pasenadi, King of Kosala. What an incredible act of humility. The Buddha sees all this, of course, and he asks this really simple but penetrating question. Great king, why? What is it that you've seen that makes you pay this kind of incredible respect to, this simple body? And that question, that's the key that unlocks this entire story. So the king doesn't launch into some flowery speech or complicated philosophy. Nope. He answers with what he as a king has personally seen out in the world. He basically presents his evidence. He just lays out these super sharp contrasts, all from his own experience. He says, look, he's seen other spiritual types who just give up after a few decades. But he sees the Buddha's followers are in it for life. He sees arguments and fights everywhere, even in his own family. But here, he sees a community that's in perfect harmony. He's seen other ascetics who look sickly and miserable, but the Buddha's followers, they're joyful, they're radiant. And finally, he compares the absolute chaos of his own royal court with the silent, perfect discipline of the monks. Now, this is where things get really interesting. It's all about how we understand what the king is saying. You see, a modern translation gives us the what, but it kind of misses the full texture, the full feeling of how he said it. So are we missing something? You bet. The king wasn't just listing facts. He was painting vivid pictures with his words. And to really see those pictures, we've got to look a little closer at the original language he was using. So for the rest of this, we're going to do something cool. We're going to approach the king's words like an ancient linguist. First, we'll look at the standard, clear dictionary translation. But then, we're going to use this amazing analytical tool from back then called Niruti. It's all about tracing words back to their roots to uncover the visual metaphors the king was actually painting for the Buddha. All right, let's put this into practice. This is where we're going to bring the king's ancient observations to life. We're going to zero in on 2 of his most powerful points. Okay, first up, harmony. A standard translation might say the monks blend like milk and water, which is nice. It's a nice image, but the root translation is so much more powerful. It's not like milk and water. The king says they have become milk and water. So here's our Niruti insight. The Pali word is kiro dakibuta. Let's break it down. You've got kira, which is milk, udaka, that's water, and buta, which means having become. See, this isn't just about 2 things mixing together. It's a total, irreversible transformation. Once you mix milk and water, that's it. You can't unmix them. They have literally fused into something new. And that just perfectly captures the crucial point. The king didn't just see a bunch of people getting along nicely. He saw a community where all the individual lines had dissolved. They become a single, unified thing. Oneness. Okay, now let's look at discipline. A modern translation might say something like, without punishments or weapons. It's accurate, sure, but it's a little abstract. The root lens, though, gives us something so much more concrete and personal, a community that is tamed without the rod and without the sword. And the Nirati insight here is just fascinating. The Pali words are adandena, without the rod or stick, and asaptena, without the sword. Now, why use those specific words? Because those are the king's tools. The rod and the sword are the very symbols of his royal power. They're how he keeps order. So the crucial point is this. The king is seeing a kind of order that he could never create himself. His entire kingdom runs on the thread of force, on the rod and the sword. And here, in front of him, is perfect discipline with absolutely no force at all. It must have completely blown his mind, just upended his whole understanding of power.
So why does any of this matter, right? Why is this story so important? Well, the Buddha tells us himself, right in the final lines of the text. The original title of this teaching is the Dhammacetiyasutta. Now, Dhamma means the truth or the teaching, but Cetiyani, it doesn't just mean reasons or points. It means shrines, memorials, monuments. The king's words weren't just a list. They were living monuments he was building to honor the truth he was witnessing. And that's exactly why the Buddha turns to his monks after the king leaves and says this. He says, King Pasenadi has spoken monuments to the Dhamma. Learn them, master them, remember them. He saw that the king's crystal clear observations were as sacred and as real as any temple built of stone. And really, that's the heart of it all. The king's greatest, deepest act of respect wasn't kissing the Buddha's feet. It was the quality of his attention. It was his ability to see the truth so clearly and to say it so perfectly that his words themselves became these lasting monuments. Which, of course, brings it all back to us. We might not be kings, but every single one of us has the power of attention. So the real question is, what are you seeing clearly in your own world? And what kind of monuments of truth are you building with your attention today?